Hi, everybody. I'm David Zink with the Press Enterprise Sports Department. Alongside of me is my partner, Eric Paul Johnson, longtime reporter and high school sports aficionado. We're here today to talk to you about the HS Game Time preview show. We're going to preview some high school football games from the week, let you know what our thoughts are. I don't know if you read the paper, but we also do a weekly pick'em where you can see I'm not normally on the right side. I guess I am on the right side, not on the left side, and Eric Paul Johnson, he's obviously over here. So we'll stick with the experts and find out what they know. I know little, he knows much. Eric, we got a slate of games. It's week 5, so half the teams have already played 5 games and half the teams have not. The teams that have not will be playing here in week 5, and so we don't have everybody going, but we do have some great games. The first one we want to talk about is the Norco at Serrano. Norco's had kind of a rough start to their season. Serrano's a pretty tough test. What do you think about that game?
Yeah, this should be an interesting one. You know, Norco last week looked like they were in a pretty good game with Citrus Hill. They were only down by 3 points at halftime, and pretty much a dismal second half for the Cougars led to a 17-point loss or 16-point loss in that game. Coach Chuck Chastain knows he's kind of under the gun right now to get things going. Offensively, they're still putting up some points. Victor Viramanis is one of the most exciting players in the area, and they have 2 good running backs with Gavin Hughes and Ryan Cedillo. Norco's problem right now is they're having trouble on defense, especially just tackling, and people are just getting extra yards after the carries. So what we need to see right now is that, can Norco get this tough test going up the hill to Serrano? That's going to be the big thing. They have to travel. But I think what you're going to look at this game is they're going to be pretty motivated after last week's second half performance.
And they have struggled kind of just putting a game together. It seems they have to put 2 halves together. And once they get that done, it looks like they'll be a pretty good football team. But to this point, they haven't done well in both halves of the game.
Right. I mean, that's you look at Ranch Cucamonga, 2 great quarters, 2 bad quarters led to a loss. So can they put it all together? We'll see.
In our second game, we've got Eisenhower at Redlands. Redlands is building again, I guess you'd say. They've got some decent players, younger players, and then Eisenhower looks to be back to the old Eisenhower, a contender in the CBL. So, I mean, what do you see from that?
There should be an interesting matchup. I think Eisenhower is kind of the sleeper in the Citrus Belt League this year. They have a pretty good, combination of quarterback with Markel Harris and then a running back, Armani Green. So they're going to give a really good test for Redlands. Redlands, I think, has improved steadily since their opening week matchup against Santiago, when they kind of got handled pretty easily in that game. Great quarterback right now in Anthony Graziano, kind of a dual threat. He hasn't turned the ball over yet all year. And then we're looking at running back Anthony Sandifer, pretty solid as well. And I really like their defense, and I think this should be a very competitive game, and it could have definite playoff implications.
Well, absolutely. And, if Coach Walker out there at Redlands gets a win on Friday night, it'll be his 150th of his career. Moving forward, we got Corona, former league mates. Corona and Riverside Poly playing each other, kind of going in different directions. Corona's trying to get that program back going, and Poly's obviously got something going. What do you see for that game?
Poly right now is rolling. They're undefeated right now, heading into, their last game before league play. Yakili Ross is definitely one of the best all-around players in the area. We know he's a dynamic receiver. He's got 4 touchdown catches last week. Chandler Drakeslin threw 6 touchdowns in last week's victory over Rubidoux. So that offense is really going, and we know their defense is very solid, led by Evan Telliard at linebacker. Corona kind of been up and down. They're very good offensively. Mike Bass, the former Centennial running back from 2000, is now their offensive coordinator. He's brought the Centennial offense into that program. And Cameron Fuller and Adam Miles, 2 Centennial transfers, have really allowed them to score points. They had a 21-0 lead on Great Oak last week, only to kind of see things turn around in a hurry and lose 49-21. But I definitely see things going in a positive direction for Corona, even though you got to like Poly's chances right here with how well that offense is rolling.
Well, and as you could see from last week's game, if you read the story, Chandler Drakeslin and the rest of the starters on the Riverside Poly offense played barely more than a half, played about 2/3 of the first half and the first series of the second half, and then let it on for other players. So it looks like they have a pretty deep squad this year, too. Going on to our next game, we got Roosevelt and Norte Vista. Norte Vista is undefeated. Roosevelt has played some tough teams and has a couple losses. What do you see that game going?
Roosevelt has definitely improved since the first couple weeks of the season. As we saw, they had a bye week last week, but the week before that, they played a 3-point game with Citrus Hill. Coach Tony Burrell's made a couple changes in the offense. He's moved Jalen Brown from running back to his familiar wide receiver spot. So that's going, and Andrew LeBruna has taken over the quarterback role and done pretty well there. So I think defensively they've gotten a lot tighter. We know they have some pretty strong players over there. Norte Vista, on the other hand, right now, undefeated right now. And I think they're kind of one of the more underrated teams in the area. I think people are looking at, kind of what division they're in, what league they're in. But we know Coach Ken Batdorf is one of the most experienced coaches in our area. They have one of the best running games in our area. And for my money, Freddie Holly Jr. might be one of the top 5 players in this area. He's rushed for almost over 900 yards in 4 games, and he's gone over 200 yards each of the past 4 games. He is a definite area player of the year contender. He's that talented, and he's only a junior.
Well, and Coach Ken Batdorf actually said that David Plentyhawk will not be able to play this game. He's been dealing with some knee issues, and they're going to hold him out. Actually, he felt that if they did play, it would be a really, really tight game. He's thinking they're really going to have to reach if they're going to get a win against Roosevelt. But he's assured me that he probably will try and get that done. So moving into our last game, which is actually our game of the week. It's a Murrieta Valley at Lake Elsinore. This is a Wildomar rivalry. The Murrieta Valley was opened up, and most of the kids that started at Murrieta Valley decades ago were kids that went to Elsinore previously. And this is kind of a rivalry. I mean, it doesn't really play that way very much for anybody else, but for them, it's really important. What do you think about that game?
Yeah, it's probably a rivalry that's died off a little bit more with more schools opening. You see Elsinore now rivals with their own city schools. Same thing with Murrieta and everything. But no, this is, these are former league opponents. They used to be in the Southwestern League together, so it should be an interesting game. You're going to have kind of 2 different offensive matchups going here. You got Elsinore, which is a pure power running game led by Jacob Guglielmana at the running back spot, versus Murrieta Valley, which is a little bit more balanced. They have Quincy Wimbush as running back, but they also have one of the best receivers in the area in Aaron Young. This should be a really good game. Could be a pretty high-scoring affair in this one. So it'll be an interesting one there. I think Elsinore struggle to keep people off the board right now, points-wise. So I kind of like Murrieta Valley in a close one here.
Well, and Murrieta Valley is coming back after, 2 years of having new coaches. Mm-hmm. And this second time around, they've really kind of, just like last year, struck a good chord to start the season. We'll see how they finish up the season. Well, there you have it. 5 games you can go take a look at. Eric's thought on all of those games. I think that it would be a good night of Friday night football, getting ready to go into league play. So get out, see a game on Friday night, and we'll see you out there.